When you have a cow, you get a lot of extra cream, which is fabulous because we have a large family, and so I can do a lot of things with it, including making butter. Today I'll be making it in my food processor. The one really big thing that I like about this is that it's all contained. So it's probably the least messy way of making butter that I've tried, but you are limited on your quantity. When it comes to cream, I separate it out from my milk, but then it continues to separate out even more. So I can see that there's just a tiny line here at the bottom where I have just a little bit of milk. And then what happens is you get separations within the cream itself until at the very top is where the heaviest cream is. So that's what I want to do with my butter today because that'll go the fastest. I have just a little gravy ladle, which works fabulously for scooping out that cream. And I'll scoop out about half of my pint-sized jar worth. And I'll do that on both of my jars because I want to have 1 pint of heavy cream for this. If I was buying mine from the grocery store, then I wouldn't have to worry about this step. But since mine is raw cream, it's a helpful one. It would still turn into butter either way, but it'll take a lot longer if I have the lighter cream mixed in with the heavy cream. My next goal is to get my cream up to room temperature. Anywhere from 60 to 65 degrees is really the best. So I guess that's slightly less than my room temperature anyways. Currently, because my cream's been refrigerated, and it's only been out for a little while, it's at 50 degrees. So I have a little ways to go. I could just leave it on the counter and come back and check on it regularly, but a lot of times, I just don't have the patience for that. If I'm ready to make butter, I'm ready to make it now. So what I'll do is I'll put it in a little bit of water. And this is room temperature water right here. And then I'll add just a little bit of hot water to it. This is probably about 150 degrees. And I'll allow that to sit for just a minute or two, and then I'll shake it up and I'll check the temperature. Now I'll shake up my jar just to make sure it's fully mixed so I'm getting the right temperature for the entire jar. And I'll check that temperature again. I'm up to 52 degrees, so I need to do just a little bit more water to keep that going. Just depends on how impatient you are too. Of course, today I'm doing a video, so I'm wanting it to go a little bit faster even. I'll put the lid back on that, give it another 2 minutes, and I'll come back and check on it again. So now I'll take it out and I'll shake it up again. I can feel it getting warmer. So it's definitely making a difference. So that is not bad at all, just 4 minutes to get it up to the correct temperature. I'll take that over leaving it on the counter for hours to get it that way. Now I'll take my pint of heavy cream and add it into my food processor. Then I'll put on the lid and I'll turn it on and I'll let this keep going until it looks like butter. I'll try to show you some of the stages along the way. It's been about 5 minutes, and at this point, it's kind of this whipped cream almost. So it's definitely making changes, but it is not quite there yet. It's the mixing blade that I'm using with that. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. So it's already changing more. I can see the butter fats hitting the side and then sliding down because they're heavier now. And I mean, you can really see that. So again, lots of changes, but not quite there yet. So you can see as you're going, it begins to go faster and faster where it's just falling off of the side until eventually inside you have butter and you have the buttermilk. So I save that buttermilk because I have all kinds of recipes that I can do with it. I try to keep my butter from falling in there with it. And then I'll take out my butter and put it into a separate bowl, which actually makes it easier to get the buttermilk. So I'll dump the rest of that there. And then I have some ice cold water here. And I just pour that ice cold water right over the top of the butter. My goal at this point is to get the rest of that buttermilk out and get the butter to form. It's pretty soft when you first get it out. And you can see as I'm doing this, the liquid is quite white at this point. So that lets me know that there is a lot of buttermilk in there. And I just kind of fold it over itself, trying to press out as much of that buttermilk as I can. And then I dump it into the sink, or in this case, I'm doing a bowl. You can see as I press, more and more will come out. So I'll do some more water, and I'll continue to do the water. I won't let the ice fall in there, but I do want it to get that nice and clear because that buttermilk will go bad a lot faster than the butter will. And it kind of changes the flavor of the butter if you leave it in it. You can do this with your hands. They have special paddles that you can do it with. I just do a spoon. It works. Maybe someday I'll get something fancy like that, but I go back and forth because I'm like, you know, how much do I want taking up space in my kitchen? So I'll do some more water because that was still pretty white. It is getting firmer though, and as it gets firmer, it's just a little bit harder to press through. There's also butter molds that you can use, which is fun. Okay, so my water is getting more and more clear. At this point, I'll put in 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and I just kind of sprinkle it on the top, and then I work it in. And this also checks just to make sure all of that buttermilk is out. If I see any more moisture coming out of it as I'm pressing, then I just dump it out as well. And then I usually just finish it off with my hands because I feel like my hands do a better job of getting just that last little bit out of it. And it doesn't make very much. Times like this is when I'm reminded why we pay so much at the store for it. But I have my little bit of butter here, and sometimes I'll shape it into a nice little loaf. Other times I'll use a little mold, and that is all that it takes to make butter in the food processor. A little bit less than 15 minutes.